to ask you real quick, and so for y'all who don't know, this is Bernard Kramer. I will tell you guys to watch the live we did. He was in our Black Educator series. He stepped up. He was number 2. He's also an author, community activist as well. So has very great things to say. So we asked him to be a part of this panel tonight. And so the question we're asking everyone is slavery. Um, did it end? And if so, when?
Whew. Well, I'm gonna keep it relatively short, man. 'Cause I'm worn out, and I'm even more exhausted with you telling me that 2.5 hour video is gone. That y'all jagged it off and it's never to be seen again.
What we didn't say all that. You know, we got people working on it behind the scenes. But go ahead, bro. And man, my
No,
bad. So go ahead, bro.
no, it's all good. Uh, Definitely it's not over, man. And I guess to speak on the macro side, uh, capitalism depends on slavery. This economic system depends on exploitation, manipulation, stolen labor. And so when you talk about slavery, we're living under a palatable version of slavery. Um, and the most intense version of slavery is a slavery where most of the people enslaved don't realize that they're enslaved. And so they're even more profitable because you're gonna work just as hard to try to be like the master, where there's no chance of being like the master, but you think you're working just to get compensated and just to consume. But you're literally fulfilling your role as a slave, which is why that gap continues to get bigger and bigger because we don't understand capitalism. A few people at the top accumulating all of this fiat, all of these resources, all of this earth, all this planet, and the most of the people at the bottom are still fighting over the same crumbs. Like you're talking about black people, I mean, on the micro side, no, hell no, we ain't free. And like my man alluded to, the 13th Amendment, definitely. But you also throw in there the fact that we don't control our own affairs. So as grown men and women not controlling our own affairs, what part of freedom is that? You know what I mean? We're in literally every urban area in the United States, we're being gentrified right now. In every urban area, we have no control over the schools that educate our kids. Every urban area, black or white politicians literally work for the status quo, which is totally against us. And you already spoke to the incarceration. You talked about Flint, Michigan. But the reality of this country, I mean, is that poor white people are just as enslaved as us, if not more so, because this country needs to convince them that they're better than us in order to keep them enslaved. So they get targeted with the most intense propaganda. For
Mm.
Trump to convince them people that they should be in front of the White House fighting with conservatives who want to conserve what is and maintain what is, that's a hell of a lot of mind fucking right there. For them to think that they cool and that Trump is on their team.
Yeah, I know during that, man, and well said, bro. And I know during Reconstruction, as they called it, right after the Emancipation Proclamation, you know, that became an issue of enforcement. Um, and they were saying that whites were struggling in the South, especially right after that war, you know, the Civil War or whatever. Um, so like everybody was like struggling, and they said the black men, even in the North, had a saying though with those agreements because they ended up having wage agreements with the plantations. So you ended up working for the same plantation that you were just technically a slave
Yeah.
under these terms that were just slavery, you
Mhm.
know. And so what they were saying is that if you and I were there during that times, we would be saying that this is no different. So what we had to accept was, hey, just keep that whip off of us, right? So those were the kind of negotiations that we started having, kind of what you were saying about um you know, do you know you're a slave, you know, trying to please master, you know, that mindset, just kind of taking what we can get. We've been conditioned to that since go.
Yep.
Take what you can get or die.
No argument there. And I guess the only difference between the major difference between the slavery, the chattel slavery, and I guess even years after that, if you talk about chain gangs and all of that business, is that we have the ability to consume now. So that's the biggest disguise. Not only the propaganda, but that ability to consume and pretend like we're free because of consumption capacity and access. I can take all of these lavish trips. I can consume whatever, so that makes me free. But if somebody can stamp out your job just like that, what kind of freedom is that? Like you can't eat, you can't live anywhere, you can't clothe yourself
And what are you
without this
consuming?
job.
And if they can give you poison and by
Yeah,
your
it
zip
all
code,
depends on what you're getting. Amen.
man.
Amen. You preach. Look,
V.
I want to say on top of that, the other disguise will be the hand-selected niggas that they allow to represent us within their communities. You know?
Well, hold that real. I want you to finish. I had a thought of that today. It's fun. Thank you for bringing that up because those hand selected ones used to be like, say, for instance, Jesse Jackson or certain, reverends or political figures. But it seems today that it became these like
Rappers.
YouTube figures, rappers. Yes, yeah. So
Entertainers.
yes,
Hey, somebody got something playing in the
Yes.
background?
No, I
That
don't.
might be me, man.
Okay.
You had to put me on blast like that, dude.
I have no idea. I said somebody. You know what I mean?
Sounded like it sounded like an attack. It's for
You put yourself on blast, my friend. You blasted yourself.
You know it ain't the two of y'all. My man sitting there quiet. I just go and do it.
I knew who it was. I chose my words very carefully. I didn't say me.
oh my God.
Got someone in the background. Cut off.
We're talking about big slavery, and y'all got me here happy. You know what I mean? And I guess
You can't do nothing but laugh at all this stupidity that's
Man,
happening.
you really have to.
You have
What
to.
my man just said, because I ain't gonna stay long, man. I've been on the Zoom for the last 4 hours. He just spoke to it. Like the nation of chattel slavery, you had the house Negroes, who basically provided that beacon of what the field Negroes could become if they worked just hard enough, if they pleased the master, and and so everybody in the field wanted to be like that dude. And that dude, after a while, he had made so much, he had so many of master's clothes, he could drive master's carriage. He had access to master's clothes and food, all of that business. His interests were no longer the interests of the slaves or the slaves in the field. And so it's the exact same thing today. Nothing has changed. It's the exact same dynamic. We still want to be exactly like those that work for the master. You know what I mean? We want to be like them. We want to have what they have. And so they still provide them. They put them out there to elevate it and compensate it as beacons for us to achieve.
And that's our biggest anchor right there. That's always pulling us down because we want to be, not we. There are some out there that want to be just like them. They want to be the only black person in the room. They want to be the one that they get selected to be. Oh, this is the good nigga right here. You know, they're not saying that no more. They're not saying that we're not actually on the slave auction blocks anymore, but they're actually picking and selecting the ones that they want to represent who we are, and they don't represent us at all.
Well, it goes into a consciousness when I would say, when someone would say, hey, when a pink person, not white people, pink people are different from white people. You're different, you seem smart and you're not like them. And we're not talking about you. And that it's a whole consciousness of like, I can be with the little homies, let's just say 10, 15 years ago, right? You might be with one of your little homies. And then whenever we get around white people, specifically white women, they started like carrying themselves different and holding the door for them. And I'm serious. And I'm like, what is that all about? And they would be like, man, because they're scared of us. And I'm like, well, you know what? So what?
That's their issue. That's not our issue. That's their issue.
Right.
That sounds like a you problem, not a me problem.
But it's something in us where, I'm not saying that, show them our lowest, but when are we going to stop, show them your best, so that they can see that you're not an ape. It's at some point. No, they have to show me their best so I can see that they're not Neanderthals.
And that's that part of oppression, man, and 400, 500 years of it. W.E.B. spoke to it, double consciousness theory. Where not only do we see ourselves through our eyes, but we see ourselves through the eyes of whites, and we overly concern ourselves with how they see us and how they perceive us. So that's kind of like a child and his parent. You know what I mean? Like you literally worried about, you're always concerned about how your parents see you. You're always living to please your parent.
He's a whole story in itself. W.E.B. Du Bois.
Yeah, that's a whole.
We could do a whole show on him.
Definitely.
And his relationship with Margaret Sanger.
Hey, respect. I'm gonna tune in, man, but I got to get something to eat. and I got to take my ass to sleep. I got a radio show in the morning at 8 o'clock.
Hey, what's the show? Pitch it, man. Somebody might check it out or something, bro.
It's 95.1, man. It's a station coming out of shit. What did my guy tell me? I'll put it on the feed.
Yeah,
man.
put on
It's a
the
radio
comment
show.
or send it to me. I'll drop it in the comment, bro.
Will do.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all, man. Much respect, man. I appreciate the platform.
Absolutely.
Keep
Appreciate
doing what
you,
y'all
brother.
doing, man.